commentator there, Neil Lazarus. Neil, a very good day to you, a very good evening to you, in fact. Public support in Israel for this ground invasion.
The support in Israel for the ground invasion is quite high. I think many Israelis have had a feeling of frustration that the government wasn't taking on and stopping the 6,000 missiles which had been landing in Israel since Israel withdrew from the Gaza Strip. Remember, it was only 2 years ago Israel withdrew from the Gaza Strip, destroyed 9,000 settlements. Israelis thought they were going to get peace. The reality was a bombardment of missiles from Hamas. So I think there is, on one hand, a relief that the government is taking on Hamas. It's not a war against the Palestinians, but is taking on Hamas. But on the other hand, there's a sadness because the peace process has collapsed quite dramatically.
There was a frustration, wasn't there, in 2006 with all the Katyushas coming over the northern border from southern Lebanon. Within weeks or months, perhaps, that frustration had turned to derision, and that derision was directed towards Israel's own government and armed forces.
Again, it's a very delicate game the government is playing as far as public opinion is concerned. But I think there is an overwhelming feeling in Israel that places such as Sderot, places such as Ashdod, places such as Ashkelon needed better protection than was being offered. The war is against Hamas, it's not against the Palestinian people. And I think that there seems to be, and again if you look at the polls, there seems to be a support for this war against Hamas, and hopefully we'll get to a more peaceful situation, both for Palestinians and Israelis.
I don't know whether it's the gorilla in the corner in this debate, but it's certainly not something I've heard mentioned, but it does seem relevant. And that is that in terms of those reprisals, you know, within days we had the usual rhetoric from Hamas promising to open the gates of hell and all the rest of it. In years gone by, you would have expected a welter of suicide bombings. Some might say the reason that hasn't happened is because of the much hated, much debated security wall. I wonder if that's one reason perhaps why, as you say, public support for this operation is so high, because many Israeli civilians know they can get away with this without being blown to bits in cafes in Tel Aviv.
Well, I think you reveal very much the nature of the beast, Hamas. If Hamas could, they would be targeting the buses, the coffee shops of Jerusalem and everywhere else. The fact that the fence which was built has guaranteed security is perhaps a reflection on Israeli foreign policy. But again, it's important to remember, as you just said, the nature of Hamas, a terrorist organization which in the past has blown up coffee shops and today has used missiles. It's a bit like the London tube bombers. If the London tube bombers had suddenly developed long-range missiles, I think the British government would be acting in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, that's a debatable point, to put it mildly, isn't it? Does there come a point, is there a cap on the amount of breathing space, the amount of time the Israeli public will give its military leadership, and this within what? We've had an hour and a half since the Israeli Defence Force confirmed there had been the first combat casualty. Is there a number of... Do we reach a point where, I don't know, a couple of dozen or get into three figures of Israeli dead, and people then start saying, OK, job done, get them home?
I think at the end of the day there is a window of opportunity and a window which is closing. What we're seeing is one thing, is that we don't want an extended war here, and I think that Israel certainly wasn't in favour of this war. It was a war of no choice. And to that extent, everyone in Israel is hoping, one, to weaken Hamas, weaken their military ability, yet on the other hand, make sure the job is done.
But there was a choice, there wasn't there? I mean, I was talking to Ehud Barak pretty much this time last weekend, the Israeli Defence Minister, and asking him whether he would accept a truce from Hamas. He said no. So even if Hamas were interested in offering a gesture of peace, the Israelis are in no mood to talk peace right now.
Israel's always not only in the mood to talk peace, Israel wants to talk peace. The reality is there was a ceasefire, and the ceasefire was broken by Hamas, a radical terrorist group which has been aiming its missiles and its suicide bombers at Israeli civilian towns. who broke the ceasefire? The ceasefire was broken by Hamas. They never kept it. Even during the time of the ceasefire, missile after missile was coming from the Gaza Strip. So I think in many ways you're blaming the victim. Israel has always sought to make peace with the Palestinians. Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip, is threatening Abu Mazen and Mahmoud Abbas, who they don't recognize it as president in a few weeks' time, and has taken siege of the Gaza Strip. If Hamas is weakened, I think it will be good for both moderate Palestinians and moderate Israelis in the region.
Neil Lazarus, thank you.
Thank you.